on this Wednesday night, a terror suspect who might lose his Canadian citizenship.
I want to know exactly what happened, when, and how.
MPOX declared a public health emergency again.
If we don't get in front of this virus quickly, we're going to pay the consequences globally.
Fears over a new strain and the warning in one Canadian city. A paving scheme preying on homeowners.
Well, he was talking, like he knew what he was doing.
The con and the shady contractors. Plus, trying to get chummy with sharks.
People are just so happy. They're just amazed they can actually get in the water.
Canada's new, first-of-its-kind tourist attraction.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Canada's immigration minister says Canadians deserve answers about how a father and son accused of plotting a terrorist attack in Toronto got into the country. And Marc Miller says he intends to find out if the father should have his citizenship revoked. Ahmed and Mostafa Eldidi were arrested in a Richmond Hill hotel after a tip-off from authorities in France. The RCMP claimed the pair were planning an attack in the name of the so-called Islamic State. Mackenzie Gray has our top story tonight. Mac.
2 weeks after we first reported on the Toronto terror arrest, Donna, the immigration minister today said he was disgusted to learn of the revelations in our stories and threatened to invoke a rarely used measure.
I'm also going to take the next step, which is to start the preliminary work with the evidence at hand to look at whether the individual in question's citizenship should be revoked.
The individual in question, Ahmed Eldidi, who was arrested along with his son in late July for allegedly plotting a terrorist attack in Toronto that was in the advanced stages, according to police. But it was Eldidi's alleged previous actions that could have his citizenship revoked. National security sources tell Global News that Eldidi allegedly appeared in a video filmed overseas and released by ISIS in 2015 that shows a man dismembering a prisoner with a sword. After that video, Eldidi came to Canada and was able to obtain citizenship.
I have ordered my deputy minister to undertake with my department to look at the timeline at which the individual in question got their permanent residency and citizenship.
The rare step of revoking citizenship can only happen if it's obtained through fraud, false representation, or knowingly concealing material circumstances, like on immigration forms, that require applicants to disclose if they previously committed a crime or have been a member of any organization like ISIS.
It looks like he may have concealed information. That's what it's looking like.
Leading this immigration lawyer to believe if the allegations against Eldidi are true, he will lose his citizenship.
Had that been disclosed on this form, I think it would have resulted in a very in-depth inquiry.
A sentiment echoed by the former Conservative leader.
If you come here to cause harm and you make an oath, if you're lying, we can revoke that citizenship. And I think that's what we need to do here.
But the minister can't take that step until he knows what's happened.
I'd like to give you a better answer, frankly, today, and I don't have one. I want to know exactly what happened, when, and how.
Nearly 3 weeks after the arrest, Miller, the Prime Minister, and the Public Safety Minister seem to still be gathering key information on the case, Donna. Details that could come to light when Marc Miller testifies at a parliamentary committee in the coming weeks.
Okay, Mac, thank you. The RCMP has questioned a Liberal Party staffer who handled the finances during the nomination of Han Dong, a Toronto MP who was elected as a Liberal but stepped down from caucus after Global News reported on allegations of foreign interference by China. Mercedes Stephenson explains what we know about the police involvement.
Global News can now report the man who ran the financials of Han Dong's nomination campaign was questioned by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It happened 8 months after Dong resigned from the Liberal caucus. David Pretlove, a longtime Ontario Liberal Party staffer and ex-staffer for the Federal Liberal Party of Canada, says he received a call from the RCMP requesting an interview. He met 2 Mounties at the 51 Division Detachment of the Toronto Police Service. Pretlove told Global News, "It was a conversation more so than answering of any questions. There was no indication that I should bring counsel. They were just trying to get their heads around how this process worked." Pretlove spoke to Global News in a series of 5 interviews in April and May. He said the Mounties asked about alleged foreign interference in the Dong nomination campaign, political fundraising methods used for nomination races, and how Liberal Party members and Dong supporters were allegedly transported to the nomination voting meeting. The RCMP confirmed Pretlove's interview and said it was videotaped, but they said they cannot release their recording because there is an ongoing investigation. The RCMP would not confirm the nature of the investigation or whether it related to allegations of criminal activity, foreign interference, or if they are assisting Elections Canada concerning any possible campaign finance breaches under the Elections Act, or any other area of RCMP jurisdiction. Pretlove told the Mounties ballots from the nomination were destroyed sometime after the vote on September 12, 2019, saying that's a long-standing policy of the Liberal Party of Canada. He told Global News the RCMP investigation was triggered by a complaint, but they declined to share the details with him, adding, "All expenses of the campaign are to be disclosed, and all expenses were disclosed, as far as I'm aware." Pretlove said he did not see any foreign interference or irregularities in the Don Valley North nomination or election. Dong has testified at the Commission of Inquiry into Foreign Interference that he personally has not seen evidence of foreign interference in Canadian politics. The public inquiry did not include any findings that Dong was involved or knew about possible interference in his riding. In April, Han Dong told Global News that the RCMP had not contacted him. No charges have been filed, and denied any wrongdoing, saying he has always been diligent following election rules. He did not respond to Global News' most recent follow-up, asking if he had since been questioned by the RCMP. Mercedes Stephenson, Global News, Ottawa.
Ukraine is keeping up its assault on Russian territory, launching drone attacks on a second border region and pushing further into Kursk. Kyiv claims it now holds more than 70 Russian towns and settlements in an area encompassing more than 1,000 square kilometers in Russia's Kursk region, where an emergency was declared Saturday. Now neighboring Belgorod has also come under attack and declared its own regional emergency. Neetu Garcha reports on where Ukraine's bold new strategy is headed.
A state of emergency in the Russian region of Belgorod.
This demonstrates that Ukraine can win.
Russian authorities claim to have downed more than 100 drones aimed at Belgorod and other regions.
And it has demonstrated the lack of a chain of command. I mean, Putin has got 3 different organizations trying to respond to the Ukrainians.
In the nearby Kursk region, also under a state of emergency, Ukraine said Wednesday it's further advanced and seized more territory. President Volodymyr Zelensky said 100 Russian prisoners have been captured. The Ukrainian military claims this video is of soldiers surrendering, and this one is of Russian soldiers blindfolded in the back of a pickup. Global News has not independently verified these images. President Vladimir Putin denies the advances, and Russian lawmakers are describing Ukraine's attacks as terrorism.
Well, when I studied in the United States, the main rule was don't poke the bear. What the West is doing today, they are poking the bear.
Western backers of Ukraine, including U.S. President Joe Biden, have said they had no advance notice of the Kursk attack.
It's creating a real dilemma for Putin.
Russia's defense ministry released footage of what it says is combat work in the Kursk region, where nearly 200,000 people have been displaced. As volunteers in Moscow collect supplies for those in need, Ukraine says it's creating a security zone in the Kursk region and plans to organize humanitarian assistance and evacuation corridors for civilians. With troops exclaiming "Glory to Ukraine," a Ukrainian state TV report Wednesday shows them pulling down a Russian flag from a building.
It shakes Russian confidence in Putin.
Insisting peace talks can only occur once all Russian forces withdraw from its territory, Ukraine is now building new defense lines along the border in preparation for a possible Moscow attack in response. Neetu Garcha, Global News, Vancouver.
We're now learning German prosecutors issued an arrest warrant for a Ukrainian man suspected of being part of the team that blew up the Nordstream pipelines nearly 2 years ago. In September 2022, a series of explosions in the Baltic Sea damaged the multi-billion-dollar pipelines that carried Russian gas to Europe. Polish prosecutors say they received an arrest warrant from Germany back in June for a Ukrainian diving instructor living in Poland at that time. The man, identified as Vladimir Zed, allegedly dove 80 meters underwater to plant the explosives on the pipelines at night. It's believed he left Poland and entered Ukraine last month. New research shows the huge impact of Canada's record-setting 2023 wildfire season. The State of Wildfires report, compiled by international researchers and supported by data from the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service, shows fires in Canada last year produced almost a decade's worth of carbon dioxide, or about 2 billion tons. That's about a quarter of the total global emissions from all wildfires around the world last year. And today, wildfire smoke is hanging in the air across Canada. 6 provinces and 2 territories have issued air quality alerts or statements, particularly across northern stretches of the country. In Edmonton this morning, there was so much smoke, the sunrise appeared bright red and barely visible. The town of Jasper, caught in wildfires, will reopen to residents only starting on Friday. Visitors are not being allowed in yet. Jasper's mayor says residents deserve privacy as they see the devastation for the first time.
Photographs and images on television do not convey the sense of loss that would be felt in the hearts of residents when they see their homes and their town again.
5,000 residents and about 20,000 visitors were forced to flee Jasper last month, just before a wildfire destroyed a third of the buildings in town. There could be more turbulence ahead for Canadian air travelers. The union representing Air Canada pilots says after more than a year of negotiating, it remains far apart with the airline on compensation, retirement benefits, and quality of life improvements. The 2 parties are in a federal conciliation process, which is set to end next week. If a deal is not reached and pilots vote in favor of a strike, they could begin job action as early as September 17th. Algerian Olympic boxing gold medalist Iman Khalif has filed a lawsuit alleging she was cyber-bullied during the Paris Games. Khalif's gender was under intense scrutiny after her first opponent abandoned the match after just 46 seconds, saying she'd never been hit that hard before. Despite being born female, there was a flurry of false online claims that Khalif is not a woman and is either transgender or a man, claims also made by author J.K. Rowling and billionaire Elon Musk. Both of them are named in the lawsuit. The World Health Organization again declares Mpox a global public health emergency. Coming up, the new warnings about containing this contagion. Puerto Rico is picking up the pieces after being pummeled by a Category 1 hurricane. Hundreds of thousands of people there are without power after Hurricane Ernesto pounded the U.S. territory with sustained winds of 120 kilometers an hour and torrential rain. Forecasters expect Ernesto will become a Category 3 hurricane by Friday as the storm strengthens over the Atlantic and approaches Bermuda. Mpox is making a comeback. The World Health Organization today declared an outbreak of Mpox a public health emergency of international concern. That is the highest level of alert, and it signals how seriously the spread of the virus is being taken. Mpox first surged globally in 2022. Now, as Jackson Prosco reports, a new, more virulent strain is spreading rapidly in Africa.
The rapid spread of Mpox is now so concerning, the World Health Organization has triggered its highest level of alert, following a similar warning from Africa's Centers for Disease Control.
The potential for further spread within Africa and beyond is very worrying.
Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, is surging in Africa, with 15,000 suspected cases and nearly 500 deaths reported this year, a 160% increase from 2023. The outbreak is centered in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but has spread to neighboring countries.
The writing is on the wall. If we don't get in front of this virus quickly, we're going to pay the consequences globally.
The virus transmits through close contact and typically causes flu-like symptoms and pus-filled lesions across the body. Left untreated, it can be deadly. A 2022 outbreak of a milder strain led to widespread vaccinations of high-risk groups in North America and Europe. A second, more severe strain is behind the current outbreak in a place where vaccination has been nearly non-existent.
Getting those vaccines deployed to the most vulnerable populations and using the small amount of vaccine that will initially be available to be able to stem this outbreak is going to be very, very complicated.
At the same time, public health officials in Toronto are warning of a spike in cases of the original variant, approaching 100 cases at the end of July, a nearly 5-fold increase over the same period last year, primarily among men who have sex with men.
We are concerned about the increasing cases, and we're also concerned that many of the individuals who were diagnosed with Mpox this year have not been vaccinated.
Transmission in Toronto is described as local, not linked to travel. The WHO suggests the more severe outbreak in Africa may not be contained much longer, and international help is needed to stop the spread. Jackson Prosco, Global News, Washington.
A debilitating virus originating from sloths is rapidly spreading across Europe. The European Centre for Disease Control says 19 cases of Oropouche virus, also known as sloth fever, were detected in June and July. It spread primarily by midges and mosquitoes, and people who are infected experience mild symptoms such as headaches, muscle aches, nausea, and rashes. It can, though, lead to severe conditions like meningitis and encephalitis. The first deaths from the virus were reported in Brazil in July. Don't get scammed. Ahead, how you can avoid being tricked by pushy paving companies. Homeowners are being warned to be wary of door-to-door asphalt and paving scams. High-pressure salesmen have left some people with hefty bills for shoddy driveways. It's happened at several Ontario cities this spring, and now Winnipeggers, too, say they are being swindled. Melissa Ridgen explains what to watch for and avoid.
When I pull this up and look at this, right? That's not 3 inches, right? And it's all crumbling. Like this is garbage.
Manny Barbosa is one of many steamrolled by a high-pressure scam conning people into buying new driveways. A swindle that began in Ontario this spring.
He says, oh yeah, don't worry, we're going to do a real good job. Oh, they're a great salesman.
And it's spreading.
Typically, it's a door visit. Right. We're working on a driveway in your neighborhood, noticed your driveway. We can do it for this price. And sometimes we say, if it's sounds too good to be true, it is. Sometimes these prices aren't too good to be true, but they are pretty darn good.
Good at taking your money, cash or check, but the work must start quickly. Sherry and Pat McNeil were among dozens of Winnipeggers hit this week.
We waited almost 2 weeks before the first car pulled up in here, and it left marks. It first got done, you can stand on it, it'll go back down, but now it's just crumbling off.
Winnipeg police say they're investigating several complaints, but Ontario Provincial Police say the con artists move quickly.
When they find that the heat is on, they move on to greener pastures and try to find new victims to prey upon. And then in some cases, people have said, come back, I'll talk to you later. They've started doing the work anyway.
That's exactly what happened to Manny Barbosa. He didn't pay them, but he stuck with the cleanup costs.
Buyer beware.
Exactly the warning from the Better Business Bureau and police.
Deal with local businesses. Look at your Better Business Bureau websites. Contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Really ask for references and go talk to the references. They're trying to be very, very pushy. Don't be pushed into making a quick decision.
While police work to catch up, this family hopes getting the word out makes potential victims wiser.
They're ripping older people off, like senior citizens. They're ripping people like us off. They need to stop.
Melissa Ridgen, Global News, Winnipeg.
Up next, swimming with sharks off Canada's Atlantic coast. One mystery of Stonehenge has been solved. Geochemists in Britain have discovered the slab at the center of the formation, called the altar stone, came all the way from Scotland, not from nearby Wales. The stone is 5 meters long. It weighs 6 tons. Researchers traced the altar stone's geochemical fingerprint and found it's a perfect match for bedrock found in northeastern Scotland.
It's the bit that you stand on to watch the sunrise between the other stones over there, so it's right at the middle. So it must have been placed there as an important stone. To bring it 700 kilometres, however you brought it, whether you brought it down by boat or whether you brought it over land, but it must have taken a huge effort to do that.
And the next Stonehenge mystery is to solve how it got there. Tourists on Canada's Atlantic coast know the beauty and excitement of whale watching and sailboat tours. Well, now there's a new twist on the water, shark cage diving. A Nova Scotia company says it's the first in this country to offer the eye-opening experience. Heidi Petrachik went on a trip with people looking for a close encounter.
There you go.
On a sunny maritime morning, a dozen people board a unique vessel to search for sharks off the coast of Nova Scotia.
And we're very excited to have amazing people coming out who want to see sharks in the wild.
With more frequent shark sightings in recent years off the East Coast, marine ecologist Neil Hammerschlag is combining ecotourism with research. The $430 fare helps fund their work, which helps identify individual sharks to understand their behavior across the seasons in changing conditions.
Because here's the thing. The bottom line is, without sharks on the planet, we can't exist.
But shark sightings aren't guaranteed. The company's license through the Department of Fisheries and Oceans allows bait, but no chum. Instead, sliced mackerel is tossed overboard on the voyage out, and part of a tuna is hung from the back of the boat.
This is all a big learning curve for everybody.
Captain Art Gaitan picks a spot he feels will bring success.
Is it done up?
We're hearing so much about them in our waters these days. I just thought it would be cool to come out and see them firsthand.
Aaron Rowland's among those who took the plunge, a line feeding oxygen to the divers in the cage.
It takes a minute to get settled and, get an idea of what your surroundings are. But once you get in there and slow down your breathing, it's actually quite relaxing and nicer than up here, I think.
That motion of the ocean isn't for everyone. Half the tour got seasick, which means some didn't do the dive, including yours truly, too green around the gills. But that not the only disappointment.
Good job. Excellent.
Despite a full day of diving, no sharks for us. But for some, no regrets either.
As spectators, we really want to see the sharks. But there is a research aspect to it that we're helping out with.
It's the wild, it's nature, it's unpredictable.
That unpredictability is what Hammerschlag hopes will keep shark enthusiasts coming back in the hopes of a close encounter, a chance few have had before now. Heidi Petrachik, Global News, Halifax.
Oh boy, that is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Year Canada is Dildo, Newfoundland and Labrador. A few sharks spotted there too. Thanks for watching and hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.